Hi, I'm Marissa. I am a certified aesthetic nurse specialist out of Los Angeles, California. And this video is about how to get started in aesthetics and 5 tips that I think would be helpful for you if you're looking to get started in aesthetics. So I've actually been in aesthetics now for 10 years. I got my nursing license in 2010 and I did home health for about 2 years. I wanted to be an aesthetic nurse. The second that I knew that I could do it, I actually remember going into a medical spa for a facial and seeing a nurse in a white coat. And, from that point on, it was like, that's what I want to do. And I made it a goal to apply and find out as much information as possible to get hired in a medical spa. So what I actually did is at that same spa, applied. I didn't get hired. I didn't even get an interview, and waited a little bit, just went back into home health. And then I tried again a year later, and it was under new ownership. So I tried again, and I actually was able to land an interview, and they hired me. So with that place, I started doing laser hair removal, IPL. I was actually taught sclerotherapy, thermage. We did B12 shots. So it wasn't a huge place. We didn't do a whole lot of services, but it was sort of my stepping stone into going to a dermatology office, which is what I do now and where I work now. So number one would be to look for laser clinics and to look for clinics that have multiple locations. So most of them will hire new nurses. They'll hire nurses right out of school or without any experience, although they don't pay their nurses that much. Usually it's less pay than what the hospital is going to pay. So expect to get a pay cut. Expect to have a pay cut if you're going from the hospital to a laser clinic. And the reason that they pay their nurses much less is because they do very high volume and they have to keep their costs low, because laser really doesn't make a lot of money, and they will book appointments every 15 to 30 minutes for the services. So usually they do start very low, and sometimes the places will allow tips. That's just state dependent, office dependent. So that can up your hourly. Some of them will have commission. So that's also a way to up your hourly, but it just depends. Some of those places also will want you to sign a contract, 1 to 2 years. It just depends. That's not abnormal if you're finding a place that wants you to sign a contract, because it's a lot of money for the businesses to invest in your education, and they want those employees to stick with them for a certain amount of time. If you don't complete your contract, usually you'll have to pay the difference of what else is owed. So if you aren't finding laser clinics, what I would actually recommend is to apply to ones that have a good reputation, that have good reviews, ones that you know that your friends and family go to that have good reviews and that are a reputable place, and apply to those places even if there's not an ad out, because you never know when they could be hiring for someone or hiring a new nurse. I'm part of the hiring process for one of the offices that I work at, and we sometimes do get resumes from nurses that are looking to get hired, and we may not have an ad out, but we actually are looking for someone, so it actually was good timing. Number 2 would be to work with a recruiter. So my husband is an accounting and finance recruiter, so I know a little bit about job recruiting, and just from the conversations that I overhear, because he works from home, and the tips that he's given me over the last few years with the jobs that I've applied to, is to work with a recruiter. There's one in particular that just does aesthetic recruiting, and it's Titan Aesthetic Recruiting. They also have a training facility and a training, I think they do online training as well. So if you're not getting hired, but you're getting interviews, something's probably going on with the way that you're interviewing. So working with the recruiter can actually help to figure out where that interview is going wrong and how your interview can be improved. Also, if you're not getting callbacks or interviews, it could be that your resume needs work. So my husband also helps with resume building, but Titan should be able to help you with that. You can seek out recruiters or ask for, if you just do a Google search for resume building, you can find people that can help you for it. Sometimes it's around $200 to $300 to help with your resume if you're not sure which direction to go in. So look for that. And Number 3 would be to take a 2-day course for injectables, and this tends to be a little bit controversial because some people will say, not controversial, but just some people say don't waste your money until you get hired. But if you are serious about being an injectable nurse or serious about aesthetics, if you already have that on your resume, it shows that you've invested in your education and you're serious about getting hired and you're serious about wanting to be in aesthetics. So I would recommend that. It's going to put you ahead of other candidates that you already have that. So what I did is I went to a 2-day course at National Laser Institute in Arizona in Scottsdale. That was after I got hired at the laser clinic, but that 2-day course was awesome. I know there's a lot of courses out there, but if you're looking for an injectable course, there's one in Scottsdale and there's one in Dallas, I believe. And it's their 2-day Botox and filler course. And after that, I felt confident enough to go ahead and start seeing Botox and filler patients, but it just depends on the office's policies and how much training they're going to want you to do prior to treating patients. But I was the next day starting to see Botox patients, and I felt very confident. Number 4 would be to educate yourself as much as possible. So that kind of goes back to number 3. So investing in textbooks, reading textbooks, watching videos. There's so much information on Google and videos on YouTube. Now you have to be careful with what you watch because some of it could be sponsored. Some of it could be someone that really has no idea what they're talking about. So what I would actually recommend is to look for training facilities, aesthetic training facilities that have online training. That some of it you have to purchase, but some of that will actually really help you with just having more knowledge, and again, being a step ahead of other candidates that might not have done that prior to getting hired. One of the textbooks that I love that is one of my Bibles is this one. It's Cosmetic Dermatology by Leslie Bauman, Dr. Leslie Bauman. I still refer to this textbook to this day. So great investment, and I have actually quite a few textbooks that I've collected over the last few years. So that would be number 4. And number 5 would be the appearance, or your appearance when you're going to interviews. So if you are showing up for an interview, and I've had this happen where they didn't even call it an interview. They just said, we just want to talk. We just want to do like an informal meet and greet type of thing. Still show up to that interview dressed in nice business casual attire. You want to keep it modest, not a lot of cleavage, not a lot of leg. I would say appearance is everything when it comes to that interview. And I've also learned this from my husband as well, that when you show up to an interview and you're in scrubs or you're in jeans, appearance just goes a long way. So that would be my number 5 tip. And if you guys have any other questions, or if you'd like to reach out for questions about how I've made my journey, always welcome to answer any questions and to help you along the way. Thank you.